102, Hey guys, it's your favorite princess here, Stardust. And guys, soon enough, I'll be switching out channels, because I busted my phone like an idiot. Ugh. I'm such an idiot. I busted my phone, and now my screen's all cracked and my phone's glitching. So, I'm probably going to switch out accounts, but I'll continue what I'm doing there on the next account. But it'll be on a different phone, so it might have different videos, and they might have different kinds of stuff on there. I might get different toys and try those out, but if you post in the comments you don't like that, or you don't like it, it's okay. Okay, this is an update video. I'm actually just babbling. This is my reading video. I didn't actually make a script, like I promised. There's a catapult. Does that count? Does catapult count? I guess not. I'll just be telling you the story I made about my character. Ready? Begin. Okay. Begin. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Stardust. She was fighting Discord in space. She delivered a final blow, about to turn Discord to stone. But then the untragedy happened. Discord was able to teleport her wings and her horn away, and she couldn't breathe in space. She fell back down to pony. Derpy and the doctor were just about to head in the house with Dinky. Dinky headed inside, and the doctor locked up the TARDIS. Derpy was about to head inside the TARDIS before the doctor locked it. But then there was a giant crash in a creek near their home. Derpy went to the doctor, waited for her to come back. When she looked, a small filly with the wings, horn, and a blank flank was laying in the lake. Derpy was shocked and almost busted into tears. She quickly grabbed the little filly and yelled to the doctor to get one of the beds ready. The doctor ran inside and got one of the guest beds ready as fast as he could. As soon as Derpy walked in, the bed was all set in the guest room. She laid down the small filly onto the bed. She decided that they should leave the filly alone until she wakes up. So they left the poor filly alone. When they came back, the filly was gone, but the window was open. They didn't see the filly's footprints, but they did see the collar that the filly had around her neck. It had "Star" written on it. The little filly was right in front of the TARDIS when they opened the door to look for her. The little filly was sitting by the TARDIS. The doctor was confused. The doctor asked, "Who are you, little filly?" The filly didn't answer. Derpy tried to reason with the filly, but the small little filly did not say a word. Then Derpy asked what the filly's name was. The filly finally spoke, and she said, "My name's Stardust." Derpy was shocked to hear that name, because she said that Twilight read one of those books to the library once. The small filly named Stardust was confused. Stardust said, "Well, would you take me to this Twilight so I may speak with her?" Derpy took the small filly down to Twilight. Twilight said she was either flying too fast and she crashed into the creek, or some bully pony must have pushed her off a cloud when they were too high up. But then Derpy said she was on fire when she was falling. Twilight gasped and started looking at the filly. She wasn't hurt at all. No burnt marks. Her hair wasn't even burned. The filly was on fire when she was coming down, but she didn't have any trace of being burned. Except in one part, her eye was a little scratched. Pinkie Pie popped out of nowhere and be like, I know just what to do with that eye. The small filly jumped and nearly hid behind a wall of books. Pinkie Pie grabbed a book, and a weird secret chamber opened. Twilight asked Pinkie Pie, how long was that there? And Pinkie Pie answered, a long time. Pinkie Pie grabbed an eye patch from inside the chamber and shut the chamber. Then she went over to the small filly and told her, this won't hurt a bit, and put the eye patch on the small filly's hurt eye. The filly said, that feels a lot better, thank you. Pinkie Pie said, no problem. Derpy said to Twilight, should I keep her or try to find her family? Twilight said, you should probably keep her until you know a better description of her. But then Twilight noticed something weird. She had wings and a horn just like Celestia, but instead of being made into an alicorn, it looks like she was born an alicorn, because she was very young when she had those horn and wings. She looked about Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle's age, and Dinky. Dinky didn't come along, because Dinky was too scared of the filly. Then, out of nowhere, Rainbow Dash came crashing through the door. She came crashing through the door. Then Pinkie Pie yelled, Dashy, Dashy, meet the new filly! Dashy looked up from the bookcase she crashed into. She stared at the filly and said to Twilight, what kind of filly is that? Twilight just stared at Rainbow and said, don't be mean, Rainbow. This is a new filly in town, and she crashed into the city. Rainbow Dash said she probably just fell off a cloud. Then Derpy finally shouted, she fell off a cloud? Okay, then why was she on fire? Rainbow Dash gasped, stared at the filly, and looked back at Derpy. Derpy just stand there, looking very angry at Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash apologized. Sorry, Derpy. I didn't mean to make you upset. Derpy said, I forgive you. Just don't say anything like that again. Rainbow Dash felt very, very bad, and she asked the filly what her name was. The filly kept quiet for a couple of minutes, and then she finally said something. She said, my name is Stardust, and I'd appreciate it if you just call me Stardust. Derpy said, I'll call you my little star. And then the little filly's eyes lit up with stars. It looked like the Twilight, at least. And then Derpy said to Twilight, Rainbow, and Pinkie Pie, I think I'll just take care of this filly until somebody in town recognizes her. Everyone agreed and went off. After a couple weeks of staying with Derpy, the tiny filly known as Stardust was very more comfortable around the other fillies around town. She always plays with Dinky, and Dinky, in return for playing with her, teaches her a little bit of magic every day. The first day was levitation. The second day was teleporting, which Dinky didn't even know how to do yet. But as soon as Dinky showed her the book how to teleport, Stardust took off with flying colors and was teleporting in and out of the TARDIS, in and out of town, into the Evergreen Forest and back. She was teleporting everywhere, just like Twilight. And then Rainbow Dash decided she was about as old as Scootaloo, and her wings were a lot bigger than Scootaloo. And Rainbow Dash finally snapped and said, you should learn how to fly. Stardust gasped and asked Rainbow if she would will you teach me how to fly? Rainbow Dash said, sure. Can you at least fly to that cloud? She said. Stardust said, of course I can. She tried to flap her wings, but as soon as she got her hooves off the ground, she panicked a smile. Then the others came along. Dinky, Apple Bloom, and Sweetie Belle. They all went off to class. Miss Shirley was happy to see the new filly, except for Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon. She didn't show her wings to her friends. Because if you remember from the beginning of the story, she fell in with wings. She didn't get rid of them. She just has a cloth over her wings and her blank spot. Because the first day she came in, when the cloth was just covering her wings, Diamond Tiara made fun of her being a blank, so she started covering her wings and her blank. The only person who knew she had wings was Scootaloo and Rainbow Dash. And of course Derpy and the others. So, they all decided they'd teach her how to be a normal pony. She came back to Derpy after class was over with Dinky. Dinky went right to her room to finish up her homework. Stardust had already finished it. She finished it during class when Miss Shirley said she could go outside early because she was working very hard. And she decided instead of playing, she'd finish up her homework, which Shirley was very glad about. Stardust was stopped by Derpy before she could enter her room. Derpy said, "Why don't we go talk to Celestia? Maybe she'll know where your parents are." Stardust stared up at Derpy and yelled, "No, I don't want to find out who my parents are, because I might get taken away, and then you might never see me again." Derpy thought about that at first, and when she thought about it in her room, she nearly started to cry. But then Stardust actually did, and said, "I don't want to leave. You're being so nice to me. What if my parents got rid of me?" Then she sighed and asked Derpy if she'd move. Derpy felt so bad for the filly. She moved over immediately and let Starlight and back into her room. She shut the door with a giant thump. Derpy was very, very sad. The doctor walked up to Derpy to see if she was all right. Derpy said she was fine, but said that Stardust wasn't okay. The doctor decided they'd go on a trip. They got Stardust and Dinky to come out of the room because Dinky finally finished her homework. They all took a trip to the Grand Galaxy Gala, which turned out to be a big disaster. First off, they teleported into a bakery, which Derpy started stuffing her face with muffins. Then Dinky started grabbing a bunch of muffins too. Stardust looked around. And then the doctor smiled and then looked at Derpy when she was still stuffing her face with muffins. Because the doctor has found a crate of English muffins. As soon as he tried to reach his hoof and grab one, Derpy saw him. And Derpy ran over there and said, "Traitor!" The doctor stopped and said, "I was just going to grab one and slam it on the floor." He grabbed one and slammed it on the floor, nearly crying. But then Derpy knew that he actually did like him and stuffed a muffin in his face. Dinky started to laugh. Stardust just stared at the muffins, looking at a blueberry one, thinking she should eat it, but didn't. Then a mad baker ran into the room, yelling, "If you aren't going to work here, get out of my kitchen!" Stardust stared at the baker. He looked familiar. He was that Griffin from the express that Pinkie Pie took her on. He looked a lot older, though. He looked like he was almost about to die. He was very wrinkly. And then he nearly, just trying to yell to get us out, he nearly broke his throat. Derpy put one hoof on his shoulder and said, "You should take it easy, mister." The Griffin said, "Thank you." Who are you?" he asked. Derpy said, "My name's Derpy Hooves, and that's Dinky." that's the end of our story. See you next time, every pony, for part 2 to find out what happens in the bakery. Bye!